Okay, so today's gonna be something short, and it's really not a happy video I have to make. Um, the the our economy, no, it's not our economy. A post-Christian society like the one we live in that has been infested. That's not the right word. Infected with the with I don't know if it's quite cancer. Feminism has completely corrupted society. It's not just feminism though; it's capitalism, and it is between the woke nonsense, the feminism, and the capitalism. We are between. We're being pulled apart at three. We're being pulled apart by three different forces in society. And of course, feminism had to be the start of it because you have to separate. You have to the natural forming um, family structures and communities. Those have to be dissolved and isolated in a chemical synthesis fashion in order for you to do the rebuilding, the pinpoint chemistry that you want to do to a society. We have moved from an alchemical practice to a parachemical kind of societal practice. I'm using this. I didn't think about this before I started this video. I'm going to start using these more modern terms because we're using more modern practices that very strongly reflect modern science instead of alchemy. However, who's to say that modern science isn't as valuable on the soul and on the populace as ancient alchemical science? And I think this is one of those small ideas that kind of popped up in my book that I didn't catch the first time through. It was bubbling up underneath, hence the chemistry, right? Um, I did not intend to make this video more than 10 minutes. I think it's going to be longer now. I'm thinking about it. Um, so the first sad thing that I'm noticing, my generation of men have been utterly screwed by society. Um, right now, in the pool of men that I know, there is like three groups that I know of. There is the underclass that are getting the absolutely disgusting worst of the women. That's one. Two, there is a class above them who are either not getting any attention at all or who are getting just enough attention to be put in the friend zone. I'm in that section. And then there's a third class of men who are getting women and are getting screwed over. That's what I'm seeing all across the board. I think there's technically a fourth, but those are the men that end up getting the women and getting married and finding out after the fact that these women are not suitable for marriage. And where am I getting this idea? To start with, my parents were not suitable for marriage, period. My father had no control over impulse and spent and spent and spent and was ill suited to raise children. My mother, bless her soul, was terrified of not having control. This is a very common situation in modern society. My mother did come from more of an aristocratic family. I say aristocratic. My grandfather was a senior engineer. So elite enough. one of my uncles had a PhD in um, electric electrical engineering. So yeah, um, everything is changing. Like all the things were there before, all of the ingredients were there before, all the acids and bases, and now the reaction is happening. Um, so to put things into perspective, I do know of enough women around that are interested in me that are extremely bad mate choices for any man. They are so pathologically distraught that there is no saving them, and they will do harm to anyone they have a relationship with, including their children, if they have any. Um, Also, they tend to have $0 in the bank account or lower. Um, this is a large. I'm saying the few women, they are a subsection, just like the ones that like me, they are a subsection of a lot of the single women out there today. The few that aren't like this are being subsidized by their parents and are probably going to college. Um, Now there is going to be a small sect of them that are intelligent enough that are going to get out and go after college and get jobs and stuff. I'm just saying there's a large percentage of women who are being subsidized either by their parents or by the state. A lot of them tend to be single mothers. A lot of them tend to be, or they're subsidized by men who they've trapped. Um, it's really disappointing. Some of this is like my parents' generation had a lot of ill-equipped men, or just downright um, cads, just shitty men. Um, Now, I'm not saying all of them, but there was enough that, for whatever reason, a whole bunch of women. Oh, the other issue is my father's generation had a whole bunch of weak men, and that is I'm fully committed to the idea now that that is not their fault. Men have been domesticated to be work animals now. A very few selection of them are attractive enough to pull women on their own. Most men nowadays, including myself, are going to have to rely on money, and I'm not an unattractive guy. Um, and that's not even going to be enough. We have a very entitled collection of females. The red pill is right, but they are leaning into the hedonism. What that does to society is it completely cripples our ability to reproduce. Why is this happening? I did mention the three causes: the feminism, the capitalism, the woke movements, and I'm going to break this down as efficiently as possible. Feminism told women that they don't need men. They told them that they should have their own jobs and be economically viable on their own, and that they have the right and obligation to choose a man that they are attracted to. And if there are no men around them to be attracted to, it is very fine to just lean into your career and never have children. That is the first issue. The second issue is the outright capitalism. Capitalism is a system that allows for how I put this the correct way. It gives people the opportunity to profit off of other people's desires. It's not desires. Because people have desires and they like food, and like you need food, so there's that. But capitalism is a system of incentives that allows the transfer of money for assets or services, and money is just work translated into a currency. And we've been working on a fiat currency. So to put this into perspective, as the cost of living has increased, and as the cost of goods and services has increased, our labor has been, the value of our labor has stagnated. Therefore, people have to take out credit card debt and start selling their future for the things that they used to be able to buy for cash. That doesn't apply as much for groceries, but you used to be able to get houses for the price of college tuition. Now houses are the cost of Ivy League tuition. And Ivy League tuition is $200,000, $400,000, right? And a lot of them don't get you anywhere except the connections and the label. Most universities are now charging more tuition than their job access is going to repay. And what I mean by this is, one, the wages have stagnated, tuition has gone way up, it has skyrocketed. A lot of the times it's women who are getting in there, so they're coming into relationships with debt. Ergo, their monetary value is negative. And they don't see it like that. They see the status, and they don't see the, your time doesn't belong to you anymore. Therefore, you can't actually spend that time with your husband. You have to go spend it at a job where someone else is your boss and has authority over you. Where was I going with this? All these status symbols, it's not just the university degrees. All the status symbols are increasing in value. Put things into perspective. I have a watch. I can pull out a pretty watch real quick to show you what. Here, this is going to be a low quality watch. I say low quality, but it's not entirely low quality. Oh, I haven't worn this one in a long time. This is not what it looks like. You see that symbol up there? That's an Invicta. This cost me about $60. A normal Rolex, because they've become a status symbol, have been. Pretty cars are going up. The stuff that would show that you have money are going up. And I'll be honest, most of those people are renting those assets. Just straight up, they're renting it. They don't own them. Really, do you think that most of these people own them? My sister fell into that trap. She now has a $34,000 truck. What's she gonna do with that? Like, I know she bought it used, thank God. So that's an actual value attached to it. But a $3,000 truck could have done all the exact same stuff, except the fancy stuff like Bluetooth, like heated seats, voice recognition, GPS. All the nice things are going up in value, way outscaling income. And the issue is capitalism makes it advantageous for business owners to, once you've gotten up off the ground, off of the very high steps that you have to climb to enter, there's a lot of advantages given to you within our legal system once you've gotten moving. Because of your shareholder responsibilities, you can make a whole bunch of claims to completely undermine the workings of your business to eliminate labor costs and pretend that you're paying people more than you can afford. You can pretend that you're going to hire more help, and you're not going to. You can pretend that the prices of things are just increasing when you're actually just colluding with your competitors. Competitors. And everyone's just raising prices. And they've regulated all their competition out. And even if they didn't, a lot of their practices should be illegal. Monopsonies should be illegal because once you are one of the biggest buyers on the planet, you can pressure people into losing money just to sell to you. And obviously, most of the companies that sell to places like Walmart and Kroger don't lose money. They just charge a whole bunch and say you'll give sales on these dates, and those are the deals. And hopefully people don't just, not all the people buy it only on the dip, which a lot of them do anyways. And also, you end up spending the majority of your margin, of your cost margin, on advertising. And advertising is so good now. And this all cycles back into women needing to be the largest spenders of money in the economy. I think even though they only make up 50% of the population, they spend 60-something% of the money. So we actually are in a society now where women have turned their pets, basically. We are pets to most women. They've turned their pets into piggy banks to funnel as much money into their status games, and it is disgusting. So I'm actually seeing a lot of men who get completely burned as they exit relationships or while they're in them. I'm not going to give names. One got a divorce because his wife was continually taking out more and more credit card debt right after he helped her pay it off, and helped her pay off her car loans. So she immediately tried to trade up. It was disgusting. I hate that woman. One guy, I'm gonna say he was raped because technically, within law, being pressured into having sex with someone is rape. Yeah. So I know the kid that came from that. And like he's already been divorced once too. I'm seeing. Oh, let's see who else. I know of at least one guy who's been divorced twice, and he's 29, going on 30. I'm seeing men just get burned. One of my best friends was in a long-term relationship with a woman before he converted to Christianity, and he had a house and everything with her. And when he left, he had to say, "You take the house, take my name off it, get it refinanced, and get my name off there." And that set him back a whole bunch. I'm seeing all these men just get completely burned by women, just because these women have lost interest in their men. They've turned them into pets instead of actual relationships. And it's really sad, and society is just completely failing. And this is intentional. This is a chemistry style. You put these ingredients in, this is what happens. And it's no wonder that the side product of this reaction is men are dipping out of the economy. They are dipping out of relationships. They are fucking off to who knows where. There's 3 groups of men in this. I know, 3 groups of men, right? The ones that just fuck off, who go their own way. The ones who go and simp because they're too emotionally invested in women. And then there are the men who do get all the attention they want and who go and sleep around and cause all sorts of other problems. What solutions are there? Well, first of all, we have to admit that there is no going back anymore. The reaction is permanent. The ingredients have more affinity to be left in this state than they do in their previous state. And the and the reason why we were in the previous state was because we had social norms and social consequences that slowly built up to a much better system. And we just literally just dumped a whole bunch of acid into a really well built structure and just watched it all disintegrate and dissolve in. What are some solutions? What are some ways to start? First of all, we cannot just start pouring bases in willy-nilly. If like literally the solution, like literally if we were to try to do that, the bases solution would be just to radically reinforce patriarchy, which that's a bad word nowadays, even though it would solve things. Because patriarchy is not what they've claimed it is, but it is a bad word nowadays. It's literally men colluding together to kick out all the women in the important roles of society and tell their parent, this is something cool that has come out in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. Important YouTuber to watch, this is Shaw or something like that. He's suggesting we enforce we enforce a dowry system. So that way the woman's parents are giving in a portion of wealth, and that technically belongs with her, and that's what she takes with her when she leaves, plus whatever she makes while she's in the marriage. So if that means that collectively a couple buy a house and that's the down payment, when they leave, she takes that back when they liquidate the house. But on the flip side, if there's infidelity, or if there is, there's real incentive there that the parents are going to get involved in and help keep the relationship together. Because if there's infidelity, or if the wife is just trying to get out, just because she's done with what she has, that solves one issue. We still have this issue of women not wanting to get married. Like this just exacerbates the issue, because now all these women who have massive amounts of debt, they come in with a negative balance. Even if their parents are paying massive amounts in, you should still treat those women with college degrees, with all that student loans, as having a negative balance. That's literally what you have to start doing. Like, you have to have this conversation with men. Hey, if your girlfriend has a college degree and $100,000 in debt, treat her as though she is an extra mortgage you have to pay into. Don't even pretend that she has a job and she's paying into it. That is time taken away from you and your family building and your time with her. And that time should be important, because one day her parents are going to die, and your parents are going to die, and you are going to be left with her and maybe some children. People don't realize that, like, your parents die. That's just the grand scheme of life. So at some point, you're going to be stuck with this person. That's going to be your family. And if they are still paying off student loan debts in 30 years, long after your parents are dead, you're going to be spending very little time with that person. And they're more likely to be spending more time with their work friends and bosses than they are going to be spending time with you. No one takes that into consideration. When you are tied to a job because a bank owns your time and you have to pay it back with interest, that is time that's not being spent with your children or with a person that you're supposed to be in love with, or at least that you're in a loving relationship with and you've built it together. And there's no way to make that work in a society that keeps charging people $60,000, $80,000 just to get a $30,000 or $30 an hour job, which brings in $64,000 gross. Yeah. Let that sink in. As a society, we have this really messed up system where most women have a net negative value when they enter relationships. Now, there are some business owners, sure, but they still have this asset, which is a business that they have to give time. It's not even an asset. It sort of is. It's like an extra person. It is a third person in your relationship. This is one of those few times I'm going to say treat a business like a person. They are having an affair on you with something that brings in money. Just let that sink in. If your wife owns a business, they are metaphorically having an affair on you with something that is bringing in more money than what they would normally be able to bring in. It is literally a second. It is literally a second marriage that you have no control over if they are trying to if they have their own business going. Now, if they liquidate it, that's like divorce. Someone takes the business, they get some assets out of it. You literally have to treat a business like a marriage to an entity which does not care about your personal life. That's the society we live in. People, like, women tend to be okay with that end of it, but then they don't like the consequence that they aren't spending a whole bunch of time. We literally have to treat businesses like marriages to non-human entities that will take your time and energy and attention. That's a constant pull on you. And it's a wonder that anyone builds a business, let alone anyone lets one fail. And our society has made it normal for people to start businesses to get ahead in life. It is not just a sacrifice. It is entirely a new covenant with a non-human entity that you have generated. You see, I knew this was going to be more than 10 minutes, and that wasn't what I intended to do. So I think some of the solutions is we literally have to start having these discussions. Our parents are going to have to start forcing these discussions while we're still alive. Do you want kids? Then don't go start that business. No. You can do that after they're middle of high school. You can do that after they're in college. Starting also, hey, do you really want to put your children through 30 years of paying back student loans, 10 years of paying back student loans? Those are valuable years that they should be using to start families. Right now, we live in a society that says families are the last thing we want to build, so we're going to isolate people. We are going to put them on phones, which is what I'm recording this on. We're going to put them on phones. We're going to say, instead of you interacting with the field of the person, which means the way they walk, the way they talk, instead of actually interacting with the spirit of that person, the I am, you're going to see a picture, and you're going to judge off that, and everyone's going to figure out that in that society, only those who are in the top % of looks are going to get all the attention. And there's going to be very little family building going on, and a whole bunch of out of marriage births. And in comes the state to take as much taxable income from the individual and distribute it. And actually, that's not even the worst part about it. The worst part about it is we are intentionally overspending on all sorts of, it's not just welfare, it is all sorts of corruption in our government that gives way to hyperinflation, which again takes away our ability to spend. I think if we're going to have a really strong solution, we're going to have to completely disrupt the welfare state. Like, that's the first thing. Disrupt the welfare state. Tell the churches, we are cutting all this off. This is your responsibility. And then here's the funny thing. When the churches don't have any men anymore in their churches to take income from, and the women literally just don't have any way to give back to the church, they're going to start bleeding money. So churches are going to have to find a way to tell these women, hey, if you want to get married, if you want actual income, because we don't have it anymore. All of our pockets are being bled dry by you, of course. If you want someone to help you raise your children, you're going to have to go out and find a man that left and bring him back. And that means you're going to have to lower your standards to normal levels, and you're going to have to be kind, and you're going to have to reciprocate and appreciate the person that you should be building a life with. That's literally what's going to have to happen. We're going to have to roll back all the government incentives to not have jobs and to not have husbands in the household, and we're going to have to we're still going to have to roll back all the corruption. But like, this is an easy solution. Just, sorry, your kids, you need to find a man. Here's the other issue. We have so many women who have had so many kids with men who they should not have had children with, that there's going to be a whole bunch of orphans if we try to do this. Women will just start abandoning kids. I don't know. That's not good, by the way. Because the government's just going to pick those kids right up and put them in schools and create good little workers who aren't really good little workers. They're going to create the absolutely most abhorrent workers on the planet who aren't going to be able to get jobs and are going to end up homeless and become leeches on society. They're going to become criminals. This is what our government has done to us. They've separated families, and they have prevented the formation of stable households and created an underclass where the children who have no incentive to listen to authority, especially now that they aren't getting benefits from the authorities, and they're going to go and become criminals. I think actually, instead of the male, this is one of Chris Williamson's pet projects, the male sedation hypothesis. It is the child. This is more the outcast sedation hypothesis that I'm posing, that the benefits that mothers have are at least, no, how do I put this? I think that the moment we roll back welfare, we're going to have a massive crime wave that's going to persist. And we're going to have a massive, it's not going to be a civil war, it's going to be a civil unrest from the classes of people who could not get ahead in our society. It's sad. Also, in case you haven't figured it out yet, I used to be a capitalist. I used to think businesses were the right way to do things, and I've slowly come to the conclusion that no. If you take out a loan, someone owns your time, attention, and energy in the future. So when you, it's actually like a suitable trade if you're trying to purchase a property to live on. Otherwise, it is almost never a suitable exchange, especially when it's for things that you will not need. If you're trying to increase your status by taking out loans, if you need a used car to get you to and from work, that is the way it is for some people. That is a appropriate way reason to take out a loan, because that way you are now able to earn that income and pay off that car quickly and be able to get yourself food on the table, bills paid, someplace to live. Most people aren't using it for that. There are certain times when it is important that you take out loans. There's other times when there is no way in hell that is an appropriate way to spend money. My sister's $30,000 truck. People, and then it gets even worse when people start renting. Oh my word. By the way, rent-seeking behavior is abhorrent. Capitalism says it doesn't care, except that it sort of does, because it's not a wealth-generating asset. It is an exchange of time for money. It is literally putting a house to work. And it's not generating anything. It is just leeching from people who can't afford to buy a house. It's that's literally what that's literally how rent is like. It's vile that in a society where people can't afford to buy houses, people instead will rent them out for nearly as much as a mortgage payment, or even sometimes more, oftentimes more. And in exchange, you can live in my property, and I will do as little as possible to maintain it. And in exchange, you will give me as much as I can squeeze from you. It's disgusting. It's not a wealth generating. It's not a wealth generating asset. It is a rent seeking. Um, it's not. I wouldn't say stealing asset. You do get housing out of it, but it's not like when you go and rent a hotel room for a night, you come out like everything is clean. The like if you go to like an actual representable hotel, the room is clean. There's no bed bugs. The sheets are laid on. They're nice. There's no smoke. There's no the list goes on. When you go and actually rent like a room from a hotel, there's breakfast, there's a pool, there's all these amenities. That's what rent should be like. That's not what we are given most of the time when we rent. When you rent a car, they should detail it for you. They should fill up the tank for you, or like, I don't know about that, but like all these things should be taken care of for you, so that way you hop in and you do what you want to do with it, and you take it back and you're done with it. You've rented it. They've exchanged some of its valuable time, and you've paid them for it. That's not what happens in society, which again leads to the degradation of family building because people can't own homes to pass on generational wealth. Also, I've come to a different conclusion on that. That's not why you own a home. You own a home so that way no one can tell you what you have to do with it. That's simply put, that's what the issue. That's why you own a home nowadays. So that way the government can't come. It's not even that. A business owner cannot come in and whenever they want to inspect your house. That's on you. You have to maintain your own house. But that's way more freeing than having to, how do I put this? There's a level of cleanness which is acceptable for you that isn't going to be acceptable for a landlord who at any time is going to want to terminate, like they are going to want to keep that thing filled. They're going to keep it spotless, and they're going to expect you to do it. There's a whole bunch of things you cannot do. You cannot unless you have it negotiated with your landlord, and at least you cannot have a garden. You cannot do certain things with that property, like build a barn, or you cannot build a forge on it, or there's a whole bunch of things that you cannot do on property you do not own. There's a lot of freedom that actually comes with owning your own property, and those things are slowly being whittled away from you. Our society is built against individuals to build wealth and to have children and to pass them on. And it is built to extract that instead from individuals and up the food chain. And I mean up the food chain because when governments take out loans, the insiders are the ones that know what the money is going to, so they can bet on it. And it's not just that. The closer you are to people you know at higher ranks of government, the closer you are to the T, and you will get you'll be one of the first served when they start taking out loans that they do not have the right to take out. By the way, I figured out the exact wording as to why it's immoral for governments to take out loans. The reason why it's immoral is because a loan is literally an exchange of future time, future labor, time, energy, attention for immediate assets or immediate currency. And the reason why that's unethical is because government is promising someone labor that is not necessarily going to be there. They're promising the government your children's labor. If you don't have children, the government will collapse. They will have to default on those loans. You see, what they used to do with debtors who couldn't pay back their loans is they would take them to prison. You can't quite do that with a government. Nowadays, we can have foreclosure. Government can't quite foreclose. And you can't quite just take, like, what assets does the government have that you can just take? I guess war machines, sort of. Something that you, like, governments won't actually give up land because it's not actually theirs to give up. The United States cannot sell its land because it actually belongs to the individual states. And even then, it doesn't actually belong to the states. It belongs to the people of those states because it is a republic. So, like, what are you supposed to do to pay off those debts? You don't. You just don't, right? Like, our government is literally a way for our economic elites to steal our wealth and to auction off our future labor to whatever other country will take it. It's a way for our elites to steal our future labor. That's the society we live in. I know this was supposed to be about my generation of men and their dating aspects. By the way, it's really fucked. Women are ill-suited for marriage now. Just the vast majority of women are ill-suited for marriage. I've met one woman. Is it my entire life? Yes. She's a 17-year-old woman. I'm going to say woman. She's very mature for her age. I see some of the rebellion bubbling up underneath all of it, but like that's just because she has so much control of her life. One woman in my entire life who was marriage ready. And she's about to go off to college. I am so sorry for her boyfriend.